To feel Yarden Bibas's pain from what he went through as a hostage in Hamas, his wife and two children murdered, is not so difficult. Actually, anybody with a heart of stone, their heart will melt right now in listening to this on 60 Minutes. Listen in on the other side. Let's have a conversation.
They were murdered in cold blood, bare hands. They used to tell me, doesn't matter, you get a new wife, get a new kids, better wife, better kids.
They said that to you?
Yeah, many times. Many times.
I witnessed a young woman who was being tortured by the terrorist. I mean, literal, torture.
They made you watch it?
Yeah. I saw sexual assault with female hostages.
They shaved the men's heads and private parts.
Yes, this is true.
Do you know why?
I think they thought maybe it amused them or, humiliated. I felt humiliated.
They discovered one of the guards liked back rubs.
The exchange was that he will get a massage every day and he will bring us more food. Sometimes the water tastes like blood, sometimes like iron, sometimes it was so salty that you could not drink it, but you don't have anything else.
This is David. I know him from first grade. And this is his younger brother, Ariel. We did everything together. Now I'm having probably the hardest thing I have to move with my life, and David is not with me. I lost my wife and kids. Sharon must not lose her husband.
You're thinking about who's left behind.
Mm-hmm.
He and the others are fighting for those left behind while still in their own pain.
Oh, heartbreaking, obviously. I'd like to share a thought from the Tanya, the basic Chabad teachings, mystical teachings, based on the Torah, of course, about how to see evil. And I suggest that this is what helped the hostages to get through such an horrific ordeal. To see yourself as merely a victim and being oppressed, of course, is going to intensify the pain. Is there a victimhood and oppression over here? Of course there is. However, there's another way that's extremely helpful and is actually the truth. And the truth is, nothing doesn't happen on its own. And even evildoers, whatever they do, the evil that was perpetrated against the individual, we have to see that it's coming from above, from God. God didn't just allow it, but gave actually the power. Now, that doesn't mean that the evildoer is not responsible for their actions. Of course they are, because they chose to do evil, and for that, there's a price to pay, whether it's in a court down here, in this world, or a heavenly court. Whatever the case may be, one's responsible for their choice. But the fact that negativity befell is divinely orchestrated, and it was meant for me. Why is not the question. What is the question? Why this happened? Why would God bring this upon the Bibas family, or for that matter, any of the hostages? That only God knows. We don't know. The only question to ask is not why, but what? What's my response here? How do I look at this? So God gives evildoers the capability of doing evil, not because that's what he really wants, obviously not. He's giving that in order to keep an equilibrium between light and dark, good and evil. And a person can choose. But the reason why it's happening to me, that darkness and that evil that's being perpetrated, is ultimately, how do I deal with it? How do I look at it? It will be how I deal with it. If I understand that it's coming ultimately from God through a manner what we call klipa, sitzer acher, from a negative force, it comes from heaven. There's not two forces here. There's not plurality. There's Godhood and Satanhood, and they're getting their power from Satanhood. Everything is coming from God, not the inner will of God, the outer will of God that's for a purpose that is a means to an end. And part of the means to the end is, how do I look at it? How do I respond to it? When I recognize that this is from heaven, I look at it and recognizing that evil really has no power of its own, only a power that God gives. And therefore, that gives me the strength to look it in the eye and know that it's only that I could respond in a divine, heavenly way, even though what's being thrown to me from the individual is evil. But the power of that evildoer is a divine power. And therefore, when I recognize that, it's in order that I respond in a divine way. How do I respond in a divine way? In the case of Yarden Bibas, is that I don't allow the evildoers to get under my skin. I don't allow them to control the way I think and what I believe and who I am. There's a beautiful story with the Klosenberger Rabbi from the town of Klosenberg in Romania, that when the Nazis, Yamach Shemam, came in to the town, they gathered all the people in the center of the town. And he was the leader of the Hasidim in that town. The Nazi officer says to him, "Are you the chosen people?" And he says, "Yes, we are." He took the back of his rifle and hit him across the head, and he fell to the ground. And says, "Are you still the chosen people?" And now he gave him, and he says, "Yes, yes, we are." And he gave him a kick. Now he's bleeding. You're down on the ground, bleeding? Are you still the chosen people? So he says to him, "As long as we don't act like you, then we're the chosen people." But we recognize that any incident is not the person might be godless. They may be totally evil, but everything is coming from heaven. And the only reason it's coming is in order that I should respond. I mean, not the only reason, but the recognition of that is that I don't lose who and what I am. And I keep my integrity. I keep my beliefs. That's looking evil in the eye and recognizing, yes, you are evil, but the source of this is divine, and I need to maintain my divine beliefs, my divine attitudes, and be an angel of God, or even greater than an angel of God. That's who Yarden Bibas and the hostages, so many of them, how they kept their strength is in this faith and this belief. Whether they recognize it consciously, but definitely subconsciously, it's there. What are your thoughts?